I have a pretty big spread between my oldest two and my youngest one.
My kids run the gamut. My oldest is 30. My youngest is 12.
My oldest is a girl, Janaea.
Well, I've got a 11-year-old son who's about 5'5". He'll actually be 11 this Thursday.
I have a daughter. Her name is Imani. She's 21.
And he wears a size 10 men's shoe, going on a 10 and a half.
Okay, well, I have 5 children. My oldest is 16. And then we have a pair of 9-year-old twin boys.
I have my daughter, Latoya Patrice. She is 30 years old.
And my daughter's name is Ariana. She's 12 years old today. Today's her birthday.
My middle man is my man, Jordan.
My oldest child is Imani Monet Jones, and she is 20 years old.
I have my son, Travion. He's 19, just turned 19 this past Sunday. And my daughter is 12 years old.
A 4-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter.
And my youngest is Jada, the other female, so 2 girls and a boy.
And then I have a daughter named Zion who is 9 months.
And the day I found out, I think she was just going to her normal checkups. It had a pregnancy test, and it came back as positive, so she immediately notified me. I think I was at work at the time, and I was very joyful.
I was in the construction industry. I came home one day, muddy, dirty, sweaty, and I was sitting down in the living room taking off my boots, and her mother walked into the living room and placed the pregnancy test on the living room table.
When I found out that my wife was pregnant again, it was so thrilling to me because, you know, I come from a small family, so there was only 3 of us, but it was like I wanted to make sure that, you know, my kids weren't alone.
First, oh my gosh, the first time around, I was a teen father. I was about 17. And I wasn't really into girls all during high school. So when it was time to graduate, I met someone, and we kind of did what teenagers do. And we kind of stopped talking. We moved on. It was like, wow, this is fun. Stopped. And next thing I know, I get a phone call from my mom. I was away at school, and she says, we need to talk.
How I found out I was going to be a father is I got an email at work after I broke up with his mom for like 2 months, and the email said, I'm pregnant.
I was excited and also worried at the same time.
So I drive back to Meriden, Connecticut from school, and my parents are sitting there, and they're like, are you ready to be an adult? And I'm like, of course I am. No, you're going to be a father. I was like, wow.
Oh, God, that was really funny. Actually, me and my wife were working out, and I kept telling her, she said, I don't feel well. And so my wife, she was like, you know, I just don't feel well. I don't know what's going on. I said, well, you're pregnant. And she's like, no, I'm not. Stop it. So I was like, okay. So next day, we went to work out again, did it again. And I was like, listen, you're pregnant. She's like, no, I am not pregnant. Stop saying it. So we went over to her mother's house.
Well, it's not like what you see on television. It's not like, yeah, I got a baby. I'm a man now. You know, it's more like, oh, my God, I was mortified. Me? Raising a kid? Are you kidding me?
And she said, honey, what's going on? She's like, well, I don't feel well. She said, well, maybe you're pregnant. She goes, really? And I'm like, honey, really? I just said that for 2 days. You don't listen to me. So she made me get a pregnancy test. And I'm sitting there watching TV. She goes and takes the test. She comes out and she's like, I can't believe this is wrong. I said, what do you mean it's wrong? And she goes, look. And I see the line that says pregnant. And I'm like, ooh, no, it's wrong. Go back and get another one. I said it's 99.9.8%. It's right.
On my way to Colorado, I was driving through Pennsylvania, so I was going to meet her there. So I think I was in St. Louis, and I called her, and that was like pre-cell phone days. I think I was on a payphone.
So that was my moment. Went back to CVS, and the guy said, she sent you back for another one. I said, yes, you're pregnant. So that was how I found out. And that was just the start. That was a real start of new life for me, and I really enjoyed that moment.
And I called her, and she said, I have something to tell you. And I was like, I was kind of more concerned about her mother at the time, and then she told me that she was pregnant. So it was, a surprise, a good surprise at the time.
Yeah, the first time I saw my son, you're going to make me start crying because I just started crying and uncontrollably. And I'm in the in the room, and I'm towering over everybody because I'm 6'6", 280, and I was just crying like a baby, and I couldn't stop crying. It was amazing.
You know, you always hear of love at first sight, but it was just that.
I remember bringing home this little baby. She was 7 pounds, 1 ounce, 21 inches long. But it wasn't just a baby that I was bringing home. Along with that came, a truckload full of worry and anxiety and just being scared of, what the future was going to bring.
We prepared, but there's certain things that you just don't necessarily prepare for. So while my wife at the time was in the hospital, while they both were in the hospital after she was born, I kind of went home and finished the nursery and, made sure that everything was in its place. So when they did come home, everything was like it should be.
Waking up in the middle of the night, me and my wife had shifts, so she took a turn and I took a turn. So we worked together. And then, as the second one was born, we kind of was like, all right, we got this. A little bit better. We kind of had a system going on. Went through it pretty well. And then my third one, we like, hey, it's a piece of cake.
People that know me very well know the things that I went through during the separation and the divorce and so forth, and how I can still sit in the same room with my son's mom and have a conversation like I'm having a conversation with you. My answer to that is I love my son more than I may dislike his mom. So every decision and choice I make, I always think about, I love my son. I love my son. And the other question I ask myself is what I say next or do next, is it gonna hurt my son or is it gonna help my son?
I love my kids, and I think that's like one of the best things about life. So it was like having another kid in the house is just like lifeblood, like more blood pumped into your heart, like more life. Like it's like constant motivation for me because I know I have to be the best at everything I do to make sure they have the opportunities that I didn't have.
One of the changes for me is that I'm always afraid. I'm always scared that something's gonna happen to him. And it makes me upset because I'm like conjuring up these scenarios. He's walking to the store, which I don't let him walk to the store, and someone snatches him. And then I wake up and I'm like, and I go in the room and I look at him and he's sound asleep.
First of all, my spending habits changed. I couldn't buy myself anything anymore. You realize, you have another one you have to take care of. So you're buying you having the baby showers, obviously you're getting the gifts from your family and loved ones, but you still got to provide the Pampers, that's the expense. Different expenses, the formulas and all that costs. So you kind of have to budget and prepare for another one. And I never really was a big person to hang out a lot, but you kind of have to be home at an early hour to help out with your wife and be there for your kids. You really want to be an example.
Well, the advice that I would give a new dad is to enjoy every moment, turn everything into a learning experience, have conversations with your child, talk to your child, and remember that there is no blueprint, there is no handbook on how to be a dad. And it's oftentimes overwhelming, it's oftentimes scary, but it's a very rewarding, lifelong endeavor.
We never know how much time we have in this world, so you have to talk to your child as much as possible so they'll never forget you.
My thing is, from my military days, I was always told to lead by example. From day one, your child looks at you and learns from you.
She gave me a lot of nuggets, but one of the nuggets I'll share with you in terms of a good nugget of advice that a lot of single parents go through. And again, I'm speaking from a male perspective, so I'm not bashing women or anything like that, and I would never do that. But the reality of the situation is that there's more women in this country that have custody of their kids, rightfully or wrongfully, than men do. So it's an uphill battle for men. But one of the issues that co-parents struggle with when you're co-parenting is the clothes. So I was getting upset because I was putting my son in nice clothes, and he'd go off to his mom, and then she would put him in some old clothes that didn't fit, and I would be mad. I'd be angry, and my son was growing like a weed too, and I talked to the psychiatrist about it, and she said, "Rob, they're just clothes."
After you become a father, I think we all become instant experts on what to do and how to calm down the next man that's looking jittery and shaking like this. So my advice to every guy that's going through that process, just enjoy the process of having that child in your hands and falling in love again. Because once you fall in love, everything is easy. It's just like when you met your wife or your girlfriend and you fell in love with her. It was just like everything flowed. You wanted to do everything, buying food, going to restaurants, getting roses. It's the same thing with the child. Now you're buying clothes, changing diapers, and feeding them with the bottle. So it's the same thing. Just fall in love and let it flow.
I did have some situations where I have students who became parents, and for some of the young men, the advice to them was, you have to now do what's best or what's in the best interest of that child. You got to make decisions for someone else now. And trying to get them to see that the mistakes that they were making could ultimately cost their child their father.
If I get that phone call, Daryl, I'm going to be a dad, what do I do? My first response is always the same: have fun. Have fun. Take advantage of every moment that you spend with your child. My earliest recollections of my daughters and my son is just standing at the crib and staring down at them and watching them sleep at like 2, 3 in the morning, my eyes crossed like, wow. And I remember just some nights just sitting there staring at them like, you know what, all this is everything I do is worth it because this is it.
Well, yeah, I did a lot of reading to prepare for fatherhood. I read a lot of books, but what I learned after she was born was that there really isn't a book that can prepare you for fatherhood. It's just something that you kind of learn as you go.
Never stop fighting for your kid. My process was, very difficult. I almost had a nervous breakdown and everything, but you don't stop.
Us fathers have to be more active and more in the front. Stop sitting in the background. A lot of times we blame the girlfriend or whatever the situation may be, but we have to be proactive. We have to find out information. We have to go down to the court system and find out how we can do this. Stop sitting and waiting.
Motherhood is celebrated. It's natural. But fatherhood is such a beautiful gift. And to be able to see how you impact their future, or you see how young people's future is impacted without that other piece, that other half, you realize how important it is.
Really, I would tell if my dad was here today, he passed about 10 years ago. If he was here today, I'd probably give him a big hug and be like, thanks, Dad, because of you I am. I mean, I give him a lot of credit.